Are you ready to run away? Where's your head this morning? What do you feel about the deal and about where we go next?
Oh, when I actually saw the full detail of the deal, my head was in my hands. I think it's a very, very poor deal. I was very unimpressed with the Chequers proposals, and this withdrawal agreement is worse than that. I mean, at least under the Article 50 process we're in at the moment, we have the ability to unilaterally leave the European Union, something that the people of Britain voted for. Under the withdrawal proposals, we won't even have the ability to do that. We don't seem to have even negotiated the ability to actually leave without the permission of the European Union.
Well, Europe hasn't shifted in 2 years. She says it's this deal, it's no deal, or there's no Brexit at all. Why do you think there's another choice?
Well, in March, Donald Tusk, one of the 4 EU presidents, said in response to Theresa May's words that we want to leave the customs union, the single market, the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice, that the only solution that was available that delivers on that is a free trade agreement in the style of Canada. We would get a better deal than any deal they've ever done before, and that's what David Davis and Steve Baker in the Department of Exiting the EU were working on right up until 3 days before Chequers was announced. The Chequers proposals were produced in secret, without the knowledge of the Secretary of State. That then caused resignations in the department, quite rightly. And we are now where we are.
Keir Starmer this morning, the shadow Brexit secretary, described it as a miserable failure of negotiation. Would you agree with him?
Well, I think those words have been said by Boris Johnson and Joe Johnson, you know, the biggest failure in statecraft since Suez. And there's only one person who can take responsibility for that.
So with that in mind, you've handed in your letter to Graham Brady, who is the head of the 1922, back in July, saying that you had no confidence in Theresa May. We understand that 11 of her ministers spoke out yesterday. 2 or 3 of them are on are being watched to see if they stand down. Is now the time for that vote of no confidence to go through?
I think it is. This is not about personalities. This is about the future of our country. The deal we have with the European Union will be a treaty. It's going to possibly affect our grandchildren and our grandchildren's grandchildren. It's got to be right.
Does Graham Brady have enough? He needs 48 letters. Does he have enough letters?
Well, if he had enough letters, he'd be going to see the Prime Minister and he would call a confidence vote at the first. I understand that Mr Brady has been in and out of number 10 in the last couple of days, but
on this matter?
Well, that's a matter between him and the Prime Minister. The vote, if we get to 48, the vote will be held at the first convenient time. I would presume that's when we're on a 3-line whip, so it wouldn't be till next week anyway if the votes come in today.
Should she go? Because if she goes, a leadership election is triggered, it could lead to Jeremy Corbyn being at number 10.
Well, under the Fixed Term Parliament Act, you'd need 2/3 of MPs to vote for a general election. I can't see that happening. I think...
Would you rather have that situation than
Theresa May is completely entwined with this agreement. I think you've just seen a snapshot of democracy. Whether you voted Remain or Leave, people are very unhappy with this deal, and it's not the deal that we promised the British people. It's not taking back control.
Andrew, isn't that the problem? Is there are so many people that she's trying to keep happy that she was never going to bring a deal to the table that you as a Brexiteer was going to be happy with, the Remainers were going to be happy with. The people that seem to be cautiously optimistic at the moment are the businessmen, the city, because they believe the next 2 years, certainly, the transition period, everything's going to stay relatively calm. It could actually be quite a good deal for them.
Well, if we went for a free trade agreement and a transition deal, it would be exactly the same situation during transition.
Can't we start negotiating the trade deals, though, if we've got a stable transition period in place? Isn't that the point that she's arguing?
But we're not going to, are we? The problem is...
Why do you say that? Because she's arguing if we've got this and it's stable, we can start dealing with
let's look at the track record. The first backstop for the Irish border issue, which we shouldn't have voted for in December last year, that's hobbled our negotiations for the last 12 months. Now we're going to have a backstop to the backstop, which is the customs union. When we've handed over the money in the withdrawal agreement, £39 billion, which the House of Lords committee said we didn't actually owe the money, it's a goodwill payment, everybody knows with a modicum of intelligence that once you've handed over the money, you're never going to get a better deal. We'll never get a better deal than we'll get now. This is the time to do the negotiation while the money's on the table.
If she does have to step down, who would you like to see leading the party?
I would like to see a Brexiteer. I think you've got to believe in Brexit to deliver Brexit.
Boris Johnson?
I'm not going to get into personalities. That's a matter for the party, but
it's important,
that's some way away.
If you're
Because I
leading
think
the
people
charge,
have to
it's
have a
important.
vision of who would be there instead, don't they? Who would you put there?
We need someone who can win a general election and beat Jeremy Corbyn. Ultimately, we need someone who's got the ability to negotiate with the European Union, get us that free trade agreement so we can enjoy all the benefits of Brexit, which is free trade agreements around the world.
You won't give us a name?
Well, historically, anyone I've backed has never made it to be leader. So, I mean, that would be the kiss of death if I were to recommend anybody, I can assure you.
They'd be nervous. All right, Andrew, thank you very much for joining us this morning.